Okay, so you guys are going to talk about sugar addiction today, right? With all the addictions in the world, if you weren't addicted to tobacco or alcohol or drugs, maybe this is your thing. So we'll go ahead and go through this. All right, so what is sugar? A lot of times when I talk to people, the very first thing they tell me, if I tell them you got a risk for diabetes or your insulin is becoming resistant or something along those lines, the very first thing they tell me is I don't have a lot of sugar. I don't like sugar. And I go, okay, what do you like? And the first thing they go into is usually like potatoes and pasta and spaghetti and, stuff like that, which I think people fail to realize is full of sugar and gets processed right over to sugar. So sugars are carbohydrates. They break down into energy in the body. Some carbohydrates cause your blood sugars to spike and others cause it to be more stable. So for example, honey would cause your blood sugar to be more stable compared to regular sugar, which would actually spike your sugar. That ends up messing with your adrenals. So your adrenals will respond to a sugar spike, where you get energy and things like that, but it only lasts a couple hours and then you crash and you're looking for more sugar energy or salt energy. So we definitely have fruit. So you have fructose and glucose in fruit. Vegetables have fructose and glucose, and milk will be lactose. So sugar will increase your insulin. So insulin is just that. It is an insulator, right? So it helps us to store and insulate, and it stores fat. So when we have sugar, that literally tells your blood sugar to raise. When your blood sugar raises, that tells your pancreas that we have to have insulin to make the blood sugar go into the cell, right? So insulin puts glucose into the cell, and then the excess insulin that's hanging around that's not needed will make your sugar pretty much store up as fat, okay? Insulin itself will inhibit your ability to burn fat, okay? And insulin spikes will increase in your need to have more meals with sugar in it. So you eat bad carbs, right? And you make insulin. Your cells become resistant, which is resistance is just kind of dull. It doesn't listen to it, right? So if your wife or your husband tells you something, the same thing every day for 25 years, you kind of don't listen to it. Somebody else shows up, says the same thing, it's like gold, right? It's like, oh my God, why haven't I done this? And your significant other goes, I told you this a billion times. But you're resistant to their voice, right? So the same thing with our insulin. You become resistant to it. And then you want to go ahead and eat, excuse me, the sugar gets stored as fat, and then you feel tired and hungry, and you eat more bad carbs. So it's a vicious cycle. So there are various names of sugar. Anything that's ending with an "-ose", like dextrose, lactose, etc., will be a form of sugar. Syrup, fruit juice, cane sugar, beet sugar, brown rice sugar, malt, maize, cane syrup, brown rice syrup, honey, agave nectar, barley malt, caramel, corn sweeteners, and then corn syrup, etc. All different forms of sugar. So when we start talking about a glycemic index, so that's kind of going to tell you how the sugar that you're taking in is going to affect your body. So like I said, the honey is not going to spike your blood sugar, but if you had just plain regular sugar, the same amount, so if there's 17 grams of carbs in honey, like a tablespoon, if you have a tablespoon of sugar, it's about the same, but one is going to have you craving carbs and crashing, the other one will keep your blood sugar more stable, okay? So I have a chart here. So it talks about high glycemic index food. So as you can see, anything above 70 is considered to be high. Medium range would be 56 to 69, and then low range would be less than 55. So for example, if we're looking at chocolate milk, that's 35, so that's a medium glycemic index. Pineapple is 66, so it's kind of right there on pretty much the verge of being on the high side. Mangoes are high also, bananas high. So none of those are necessarily low glycemic index sugars. You think, well, this is a fruit, so this should be good for me. And it can be, but it also might put you at a steady rate, on the verge of having too much sugar too. But if you look over the rice bran is going to depend on how much of it you have. That's only 27. You know what I mean? But if you look at a whole wheat bread, that's 71. So that's high glycemic index. It's going to get your blood sugar spiked and get it spiked pretty quickly. A bagel, I mean, you're off the chart, right? 103. So you're going to really be crashing after having a bagel. You're going to be hungry. You notice how that stuff does not fill you up? It fills you up for the time being, but it doesn't keep you full, like you're starving within a few hours, right? So these are things that you want to be mindful of too. So if you look at the vegetable part, all of those are pretty much on the low end. They're less than 55. Carrots, chickpeas, tomatoes, spinach, peppers, lettuce, cucumber, celery, broccoli, and asparagus. You can have all those without thinking about it if they're going to make your blood sugar crash, right? You got to think about watermelon. You really got to think about pineapple. Okay? So how much sugar should I have? There's really no recommended daily amount of sugar. The American Heart Association does recommend, if you are a lady, that you would have about 25 grams of carbs per day. If you're a man, 37.5 grams of carbs per day, or about 9 teaspoons. So a lady would have 6. And ladies, we just are known for storing fat anyways, right? We have more estrogen than a man. So we have that fat soluble hormone in our system. So we don't need as much sugar as like let's say a man would need. But both of those are incredibly small amounts of sugar. So if I had a banana, which is 32, it's 27 to 32 grams of carbs. I'm done for the day, right? Because I only needed 25 grams of carbs. So I'm overdone as far as sugar. If I don't have one more thing with sugar in it for the day, I'm fine. If I just had one banana and everything else was on the vegetable index and like good healthy fats and healthy proteins, I'm literally done. Okay? And a man, I guess you could have a banana and a little teeny quarter of one and you'd be done for the day too. So this is like the biggest thing I think is that we take in so much more sugar than that. So 4 grams of sugar equals 1 teaspoon, okay? And the average American consumes 22 teaspoons of added sugar. That's added sugar, okay, which is about 350 calories, all right? So a lot of times we don't notice, like the food, we didn't put any sugar in this stuff, but it's already in there. And they've already went through and added it to it, and it's something that you would never at home add sugar to, you know, some of the things that they have sugar added to. You wouldn't add sugar, not me anyways, to like my tomato sauce. I just wouldn't do it. I know people do it. So things that are surprisingly high in sugar that's considered to be healthy, okay? All right, so low-fat yogurt, that can have up to 47 grams of carbs, right? So if we're looking at a man, he can have 37.5 in a day and be considered good for the whole day. All right, barbecue sauce, I thought this was astounding. 2 tablespoons can contain up to 14 grams of sugar. So when you're eating barbecue, more than 40% of what you're eating is the barbecue sauce. So there's a whole lot more than any 2 tablespoons of barbecue sauce on one little piece of barbecue. So a lot of times you're eating so many carbs of sugar, it's not even funny. Ketchup. So 1 teaspoon of sugar in every little single serving size of ketchup. I mean, that's something that you wouldn't consider, but ketchup is really sweet and full of sugar. Fruit juice. So if you have like apple juice, I mean, it's usually 27 grams of carbs per 4 ounces. No one drinks 4 ounces of anything. So if you have 8 ounces, you just double that. If you have 12 ounces, which most people would have in between 12 and 20 ounces, you might as well have drunk a pop, right? And there aren't very many nutrients in the fruit juice, and very little fiber. So if you were to eat an orange, you're gonna get the vitamins out of it and the fiber, as opposed to drinking orange juice where you're going to be drinking a lot of sugar. They put a lot, it's not just like the natural orange juice, they add sugar to it unless you seek that out. Tomato sauce, there's a lot of added sugar there as well, so it's better to make homemade if at all possible. Sports drinks, right? So we definitely want to keep our electrolytes up and everything. You could drink more smart water if that's the case, because the sports drinks have a whole lot of added sugar to it. So it says 32 grams of added sugar and 159 calories. So that's the equivalent of 8 teaspoons of sugar in our sports drinks. And that's 20 ounces. No one's drinking 20 ounces of a sports drink. Usually you're drinking more than that. Like usually you're drinking like 1 liter. Granola bars. This one kind of like a little chill go down my spine when people are like, I got 2 granola bars in my lunchbox. They're full of sugar. I mean, in just 6 teaspoons of sugar. So for a woman, that's all you need for the whole day, right? 400 calories. So it's really calorie dense. And then usually that's just the added sugar. We're not talking about the honey. We're not talking about the chocolate chips. We're not talking about all the other stuff that they put in granola bars. Flavored coffees. Well, this one will really get you, to the moon and back with sugar. 25 teaspoons of sugar on average in flavored coffee. Okay, so we stop and get one of those, maybe 2 or 3 a day sometimes, depending on the person. It's a ton of sugar, nearly 3 times the amount if you had a can of Coke in one of those flavored coffees. Okay, like 12 ounces of flavored coffee. Iced tea usually is about 33 grams of sugar, and which will be about 12 ounces of Coke. Okay, and then protein bars. Protein bars, I mean, they may contain around about 30 grams of added sugar. Like it's like if you had a Snickers bar at some point, if you're looking at grams of sugar. There are other things that I did not add. Is anybody able to tell me something else that has like surprisingly high amount of sugar in it than the things that I have listed? Anybody?
I just found out recently that milk had a lot of...
Milk has 11 grams of carbs per 8 ounces.
I never knew that.
Yeah, I mean, you just don't think about it. It doesn't taste sweet, but it's like, I think people equate sugar and sweet, and it doesn't have to be sweet at all. Bread isn't sweet, but it's still 17 grams of carbs in a slice of bread, So yeah, milk is definitely one of them. Anybody else? Anyone at all? So what about flour? Whew. Well, it's everywhere, right? It's in everything. We don't think about flour unless we're pouring it out of a bag, just like we don't think about sugar unless we're pouring it out of a bag, right? But it's a 70 on the glycemic index, so it's a high glycemic index food. So a good rule of thumb would be to avoid rice, bread, pasta, and etc. Things made out of flour, a donut, cookies, cake. I mean, this stuff adds up really, really quickly. Sugar, it's full of sugar. You could get stuff like arrowroot powder, which is not sugar, and it's 28 grams of carbs in 1/4 of a cup. And you can make cakes out of it, and you can make brownies out of it, and it's a flourless cake or brownie. And what I tell you is I fry my food in it. It's very, very light, and it doesn't have any gluten or additives, and it's an alternative.
Now, real quick, I had somebody tell me just recently, because I don't even know how we got on the topic, but he had recently gone on a diet, and he was talking about something about how the breads that are used, like in Europe per se.
No, different, very different. Ours very processed here.
That's what he was saying.
Very, very processed. So like if I eat like bread and stuff over here, and then when I went to Peru, which is not Europe, it was day and night. Their dairy is very different from here. Like dairy, if I have dairy, I'm in trouble. Dairy there, I could have it all day. I had cake. You know how if you eat food here, like you feel it. You can feel it and you're bloated. I didn't have any of that. I didn't have any bloating. I mean, they process food here way, way different. It's like illegal to do it in other countries.
Yeah.
And the stuff they add to all our food. It's kind of sad. Okay, so what is a sugar addiction? So if we have an unstoppable craving for cookies, cakes, ice cream, like it doesn't have to be just that. It could be pasta, it could be candy. If you're that type of person who can't just have one, you got to have the bag, right? Eating sugar or sugary food and beverages, even when you know that it will worsen your health condition, okay? It'll make you gain weight and potentially make you sick. So if you're doing that in spite of it, if you don't have control over, what you're putting in your own mouth, it's not a desire of yours, but it's more like I have to have this. You're going to think more along the lines of addiction. Okay, and you can become addicted to sugar just as well as if you were addicted to heroin and cocaine. It literally works in the same area of the brain. Okay, so how does it affect our body? Here's just a few things. It increases your risk for kidney disease. Okay, definitely for the dental cavities. You can spend half your salary at the dentist just on things that could have been avoided if you were properly brushing and taking in a lot less sugar. Definitely obesity, right? Because like I said, that insulin spikes and insulin insulates us, and then we gain all this extra weight that is very hard to burn. Okay, so increased risk for heart disease. So it will increase your triglycerides, your blood sugar, and inflammation, right? Some other things, I mean, there's more risk for respiratory infections. There's more risk for sinus issues. There's more risk for cancer. It's nothing that is really that beneficial besides getting that 25 to 37 grams of carbs. That's all you really need for your brain, because your brain does use sugar, but that's as much as it needs. Other than that, you really don't need it. Also, it could impair your memory. Okay, they're calling, like I said, I always say, they call Alzheimer's and dementia like type 3 diabetes now. You're not getting good blood flow to your brain, you're not getting good circulation to your brain, you're not getting proper nutrients when you're having all this inflammation, and then you end up having some memory issues. Okay, so what does the research show? A Harvard study showed that food with more sugar in it, foods that raise blood sugar even more than table sugar, such as white flour, right, white potatoes and refined starches, have what is called a high glycemic index, which triggers a special region in your brain, okay, that is known as ground zero for conventional addiction such as gambling or drug abuse, okay? So 94% of lab rats chose sugar over cocaine after they had a cocaine addiction. That's really scary when you really think about it. So the more sugar you eat, the more sugar you want. Have you ever been in that where you kind of get in a vicious cycle, right? Where you're like, well, I already had some ice cream. I might as well add this to it. I might as well add this. Well, I already had that. Now I want this. You know, your brain is like constantly saying, give me some more sugar. Might as well, you know. Sugar is stimulated in the brain, like I said, in the same way that it would if you had an addiction to drugs, sex, or gambling. Okay, it works on that happy center, which elevates your dopamine. Dopamine is like a feel-good hormone, and it actually helps with focus and concentration. Okay, you can wake up feeling sluggish, maybe like the night before you just went in. Let's say you had mashed potatoes, you had pasta, you had cake, you had ice cream, you know, and the next day you wake up and you're tired, right? Because your sugar has been up and crashed. Now you're like hypoglycemic, you're like shaky, jittery, because you need to get like literally a fix of sugar to be able to get your blood sugar better stable instead of so low. It really shifts your hormones, you guys. So, do you hide the fact that you're eating some fish, fruits, or veggies? Never, right? We want people to know about that. But we definitely will hide like empty pop bottles, candy wrappers, you know, fast food packaging. We'll definitely hide that or get rid of it, you know. We'll lie to people about what we've eaten, okay? You might gain weight in spite of health problems like pain, vision issues, diabetes problems. You continue to eat that stuff. Remember, there's a direct correlation to what you eat and how you feel. Sugar used to be used for special occasions, right? It was a birthday, it was a, let's say, retirement, anniversary, but now it's literally added to everything we eat. It's like every single meal has sugar in it, and everything we eat that we get that's processed has sugar in it, right? So the sweeter the food is, the easier it is to sell. And like I said, are you feeling tired a few hours after you eat sugar? So you got to pay attention to yourself. See if you have a candy bar, at what point do you start to feel a slump? At what point do you start to feel like you need more sugar? How long does it stay in your system? Are you craving sugar for energy, right? Do you get hangry, which is like, I'm going to hurt somebody if I don't eat food right now? Those are all symptoms of a sugar addiction. What's the solution? Well, you got to realize what's going on in your brain and how your brain is being affected by sugar. You have to understand there's levels of addiction, right? So, I mean, you could be addicted to, let's say, smoking, maybe have 1 or 2 a day, and then you could be addicted to smoking where you're smoking 3 to 4 packs a day. Obviously, you're gonna have some different results than the person who's smoking 1 or 2 a day. We have to have sugar. You have to. So that's the thing, is finding the fine line, knowing when to say when, and setting some standards for yourself, right? Detoxing from sugar, you can experience headaches, hormonal fluctuations. This can last a few days to a few weeks. So just like if you went off coffee, or you went off just straight up caffeine, or anything that you detox off of, a lot of times your body does withdraw. You do get kind of sick, you get a little achy, you get a little, hangry, but it's just part of the process. So become a label reader, okay? You need to really start investigating what it is that you're eating, because for Pete's sake, it's going in your body. Pretty much anything with a label will have added sugar. So foods purchased in a package usually will have way more sugar than if you made it at home yourself. You must eat balanced meals to keep your blood sugar from crashing, okay? And then you have protein, fiber, healthy fats to be included in each one of your meals. And so a lot of times I'll talk to people and their breakfast is just kind of like they've only had a one-tone breakfast, right? They had waffles and orange juice. So that's all just sugar. There's not very much protein in that. There's not really any fat, and there's not a lot of fiber. But then they're hungry all day. When you start off the morning with a really heavy carb meal, all day you're going to be in a cycle of half and half carbs, literally. I almost try to tell people, like, breakfast, you could eat dinner. Seriously, you could have salmon, you could have a piece of chicken, you could have turkey bacon, but you really want your breakfast to be more protein than anything. And maybe just about, a half a slice of toast, if you have to have that. To me, that's just added, like, it's carbohydrates I could use somewhere else. Start paying really close attention to your gut health, okay? Use probiotics, avoid processed food and sugar, eat fruit in its natural state, not in a juice state. Fruits are not supposed to be addicting, okay? Artificial sweeteners are considered to be safe. I know there's always mixed reviews, so we're going to use mild amount would be recommended. We're not going to use it to replace our sugar addiction, right? We're not going to have 10 Splenda and mix it up in a Kool-Aid, you know what I mean? It's not the solution. Very small amounts of artificial sweeteners. We're not going to drink 99 Diet Pepsis and be like, look, I'm healthy. There's nothing really healthy about this stuff. Okay, so you may not crave candy or outright sweet. So think about the potatoes, breads, pastas, and corns, okay? Consider those things, starches. Remember, you need to eat healthy, protein, fiber. It cannot be overstated. Healthy fat, like avocados, okay? Walnuts, nuts, seeds, coconut oil, olive oil, organic beef, free-range eggs, raw cheese, organic meat, sprouted chia, almonds, nuts, seeds, avocado, coconut oil, vegetables, and berries. For me, if I'm craving chocolate, you can find what works for you, but if I'm craving chocolate for some reason, blueberries will satisfy that. I don't know. Look and see what else you can have that will actually satisfy different cravings you might have. And if I'm craving chocolate, I have a little teeny square of Dove chocolate, and I literally eat on that over the course, the small little square, and I think it's 5 grams of carbs. I'll eat on that over literally an hour. I don't just gobble it right down. I take the teeniest little bites. Try to go slower with heavy sugars food, okay? Supplements that could help. So 200 mics of chromium with each meal can help balance out your blood sugar levels. Chromium you can find at anywhere really, but usually it'll be more mixed in with something that helps to control your blood sugar, like Gluco-X or something like that. High quality B complex vitamins will help regulate your sugar cravings. And then probiotics will help get rid of yeast overgrowth and help you with sugar that you're craving from yeast overgrowth. So when you have too much yeast in your gut, you will crave sugar. You will crave it because it feeds it. And a person who has too much yeast in their gut might get a lot more skin rashes, They might have a lot more dandruff on their head, that dry, flaky skin. They might get some like athlete's foot, or they might get jock itch and stuff like that. That's a sign of too much yeast. Exercise. So cardio, we do a ton of cardio. You're starving, right? The only thing you want are carbs. So we're gonna maybe avoid that if you have a sugar addiction for now. You could do strength and weight training, interval cardio, Pilates. This is like really hard. I've never done interval exercising, but I tell you, getting up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down will really wear you out. But I have done it for the last few days anyways, and I've definitely not craved any carbs. But if I just went and got on the treadmill for like 30 minutes or an hour, like I'm dying and I want carbs like bad. So that's, you know, one thing you could do. Like here they're doing an 8-minute warm brisk walk, and then doing a run for 1 minute, and then stopping and walking for 2 minutes, run for a minute, walk 2 minutes, run for a minute, and walking then for 5 minutes. But try something that works for you. So 1 week after stopping your sugar addiction is not just, you know, it can be up to a month, but you can overcome the addiction. Once you like make anything 21 days, it becomes like a habit, right? So 21 days after getting off of it, the hard thing is somebody has a party, somebody has something. You have to be able to say that I'm making an exception to this rule, and I'm not going to make it a rule, right? And then when you really get that sweet taste out of your mouth where you're not so used to it, it tastes a lot more sweet when you have it again, when you reintroduce it to yourself. You're like, whoa, I've been eating this much sugar? You know, it's like literally too sweet. You'll have better breath. You can increase your brain activity. You can retain knowledge and make new memories. You're less likely to develop Alzheimer's disease. Your skin will look younger, and you'll have less acne. Your heart will thank you. You'll have better blood flow, better circulation. You'll have a lower cholesterol level because the bad sugar in that can definitely raise your low density lipids or your bad cholesterol. You will have a better mood. A lower sugar intake is linked to lower risk for developing depression. Better sleep, okay? Your day and night cycle will be way more balanced. A lot of times, like, because your blood sugar is spiked, it makes it a little bit hard to go to sleep because you have to remember your adrenals will respond into like where your blood sugar is. So if your blood sugar is spiked, you're going to be in a fight or flight mode, and then it's hard because like when we always crave carbs the most, it was usually first thing in the morning and right before you go to bed. So you eat that bowl of ice cream anyways, right? And you go get into bed and it's hard to sleep, and then dairy gives you the wildest dreams you ever want to have. You know, you wake up throughout the night. You might even wake up throughout the night because you're hungry. You really have a sugar addiction if you are having to break your sleep to go eat. Instead of having a bowl of ice cream, I would say 15 grams of protein at night would be better to help keep a better blood sugar and help you with sleep better, and you'll wake up less hangry, okay? You're less likely to develop prediabetes and diabetes. So every other person either has prediabetes or diabetes. Lower your risk for developing cancer. We know that free radicals and cancer cells feed off of sugar. Sharper vision, right? You can lose weight because you're not having those insulin spikes. When you're not having the insulin spikes, you're not storing up unnecessary fat. Less trips to the doctor and to the dentist, right? So you're not in there every 3 months having to get your blood sugar medication, your blood pressure medication, and all those other things. It's really scary when you sit up and think about all the trips we make. Go to the dentist every 3 months, get your teeth cleaned and fillings and all that. Things we could truly avoid. So you will save some money as well. Money in your pocket, right? So less money spent at the doctor's office and dentist. Dentist, I mean, my God, you can spend some money at the dentist because they have you there to, one thing, they have you come 4 times, okay? Less money spent on pop, candy, fast food, and fancy beverages, okay? Less money spent on prescriptions and medical supplies. It's not cheap to check your blood sugar 4 times a day, okay? And then more money to spend on healthy food. You'd be surprised. You know, it does cost a lot of money to eat healthy. I'm the first one to tell you that. But you'd be surprised if you're not spending money out on, you know, fast food and all those snacks, and you have enough money to eat healthy. You could also take some trips. You could spend money on your kids, and you could improve your home life. Questions, comments, or concerns?
Was oatmeal on that list? I can't. No, it's too small for me to read it.
The high glycemic index food?
Yeah, the low. Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. Is that
Oatmeal
okay,
is
80?
high glycemic. It is
Wow.
87. Yep. Especially if you're getting it out of a pack. And so much added sugar. There's like 27 grams of carbs in one little pack of oatmeal. And you can't do anything. That's like 2 bites of oatmeal. So you have to have like 3 of those to make any type of sense.
Yeah.
Like
So
just regular oatmeal with no
Just oatmeal.
flavoring or?
oats, it's a grain, you know. I know. I'm trying to tell you. Absolutely. It is a grain. So it does have fiber with it. So I mean there's that, but it's not like a safety like, oh, I'm just eating oatmeal for breakfast. It's not like the safest thing that you could have.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, and that's something. A lot of things to consider.
How was chocolate milk one off from fruit yogurt?
Yeah, you see how this thing is going? So that's 35, and then fruit yogurt, it's 36. I know. I'm not saying it makes a whole lot of sense, but by the time you get down to adding the chocolate in, they're still low. They still don't spike your blood sugar like if you had that oatmeal.
Yeah.
So, I
But
mean,
it looks like whole milk is better for you than the skim or the fat-free.
it doesn't spike your blood sugar as much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in my mind, I always go with something whole because then it's complete. When you start taking away things, then your body's kind of looking for it and gets mixed signals and mixed messages. Your body does know what to do with like whole milk. But in my mind, I'd go more towards like the almond-based or like nut-based milks, coconut, almond, and that, cashew milk. Because, I mean, for the most part, we're not baby cows, so we really don't need that. I really don't need it. Most you know, never find in nature people drinking milk at 79 years old. I mean, it just doesn't happen. I get it. Yeah. So that is sugar addiction, and most people do have it, and it's very common, but it is definitely something you can overcome. You know, you just have to be willing to do it. You have to think about it. I mean, those choices that you make, it's every choice, you know, every action has a reaction, good, bad, or different. You know what I mean? Just make some smarter choices throughout the day for yourself. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, it's a lot of money that gets spent on things that, I mean, could be saved or put towards other things that'll be way more productive. All right, guys. Thank you much.
Thank you.
Thank you.